Hey, Jason here from Simply Swider. Is your GE dryer making squeaking or squealing noises? In the next 15 minutes, I'll walk you through 6 proven fixes that'll get your dryer running quietly again. Good news is, most of these squeaky dryer problems are totally DIY friendly and way cheaper than calling someone like me out to your house. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. Now, here's the thing about squeaky dryers. They're not just annoying, they're telling you something's wrong. That high-pitched sound is your dryer's way of saying, hey, I need some attention over here. I had this lady call me last week completely frazzled because her dryer sounded like a dying bird every time she ran a load. Turns out it was a simple fix that took about 15 minutes. So let's dive into the 6 main culprits that cause these annoying squeaks and get your dryer running quietly again. Alright, so the first thing we're going to check is probably the simplest fix. Your dryer might just be sitting crooked. I know it sounds basic, but you'd be amazed how often this is the culprit. When your GE dryer isn't sitting level, all that spinning and vibrating creates stress on the internal components, and that's what causes those squeaking sounds. Here's what you're going to do. Give your dryer a gentle push from different sides. If it rocks back and forth even a little bit, we've found our problem. You can also grab a spirit level if you've got one handy. You'll know everything's good when that bubble sits right in the middle. For safety, make sure your dryer is unplugged before making any adjustments to the legs. Now, if your dryer is indeed wobbly, you've got a couple options. Most GE dryers have adjustable legs at the bottom. Just twist them until your machine sits perfectly level. Sometimes you might need to move the whole unit to a different spot if your floor is really uneven. Don't forget to check that all the legs are tightened down properly too. Loose legs will definitely cause squeaking during the spin cycle. While you're at it, take a peek at any screws around the dryer cabinet. Tighten up anything that feels loose. This whole process shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes, and it might just solve your problem completely. Now, if your dryer is still making noise and you notice the squeaking seems louder toward the back of the machine, we're probably looking at worn drum bearings. These small metal components are located where the drum connects to the motor at the back of your dryer. Their job is to help the drive shaft, that's the rod that spins your drum, rotate smoothly during each cycle. This repair typically takes 30-45 minutes. Here's what happens over time. Those bearings start to wear out from all that constant spinning, and when they do, you get that distinctive squeaking sound. Trust me on this one. If you ignore it, that little squeak is going to turn into a loud grinding roar that'll wake up the whole neighborhood. Sometimes the bearings aren't necessarily worn out, they just need some lubrication. You can try applying 3 drops of 30 weight oil to each bearing. There's one at the top of the shaft and one at the bottom. That might quiet things down temporarily, but here's the thing. If those bearings are actually worn out, you're going to need to replace them with a bearing replacement kit. It's not the most complicated repair, but it does require taking apart some of the dryer cabinet. If you're not comfortable with that level of disassembly, this might be where you call someone like me. The parts usually run about $20 to $40, which beats a service call by a long shot. Moving on to another common cause, and this time you're going to listen for squeaking that seems to come from the top of your dryer. When that's happening, 9 times out of 10 we're dealing with a worn out drive belt. The drive belt is what rotates your dryer drum during the cycle, and when it gets stretched out or starts cracking, that drum can't spin properly. That's when you get those unpleasant squeaking or even thumping noises. The good news, replacing a drive belt is actually one of the more straightforward repairs you can do on a GE dryer. Here's how we tackle it. First, unplug your dryer from the wall outlet. If you have a gas model, turn off the gas supply valve. It's usually located behind or beside the dryer. You'll need a screwdriver and possibly pliers for this repair. Safety first, people. Next, you'll need to detach the top panel by lifting it gently. Most GE dryers have clips or screws holding it in place. Once you've got that open, you'll see the old drive belt wrapped around the drum. Take a good look at it. If you see cracks, fraying, or it feels really loose, it's time for a replacement. Remove the old belt and wrap the new one around the drum the same way the old one was positioned. Put everything back together and run a test cycle to make sure that squeaking is gone. You can pick up a replacement drive belt from pretty much any appliance parts store or online for about 15 to 30 bucks. Here's where things get a little more technical. The idler pulley. This component's job is to maintain proper tension on that drive belt we just talked about, preventing it from slipping and helping everything rotate smoothly. Like everything else in your dryer, it's going to wear out over time with all that constant use. When the idler pulley starts going bad, you'll typically hear squeaking coming from the bottom front area of your dryer. At first, it's just annoying, but if you ignore it, that squeak can turn into some serious thumping sounds that mean bigger problems. To check this one out, you're going to need to unplug the dryer and disconnect the gas supply. Then remove the panels to access the dryer cabinet. Once you can see the idler pulley, take the drive belt off it and try rotating the pulley by hand. If it squeaks when you spin it manually, or if you can see visible damage like cracks or worn edges, you've found your problem. Sometimes you can temporarily fix a squeaky idler pulley by applying a small dab of lithium grease, but honestly, if it's making noise, it's probably time to replace the whole thing. The replacement process involves installing the new pulley in place of the old one, then reassembling everything. This repair can be a bit tricky if you're not comfortable working inside your dryer, so don't be a hero if it feels over your head. Alright, so we've covered the more common causes, but here's another one that trips up a lot of people: damaged drum rollers and their axles. These rollers are what support your dryer drum as it spins during the cycle, and when they start wearing out, they create squeaking noises that gradually get worse over time. Most GE dryers have either 2 rollers at the back or 4 total, with 2 in the front and 2 in the back depending on your model. Pro tip: replace all rollers at once, even if only one seems bad. Since they wear at the same rate, this prevents you from having to repeat this repair in a few months. A complete roller kit costs about $40-$60. Plus, you're already taking the dryer apart anyway, so might as well do them all and avoid this problem coming back in 6 months. To diagnose this issue, you'll need to disassemble the dryer and remove the drive belt so you can spin the drum by hand. Listen carefully as you rotate it. If you hear squeaking or feel resistance, inspect those rollers. They should spin freely on their axles. If they're tight, wobbly, or show visible wear, it's time to replace both the rollers and their axles. This is definitely one of the more involved repairs, and you want to make sure you get genuine GE replacement parts to avoid problems down the road. The parts typically run about $40 to $60 total, but the labor can be pretty intensive if you're doing it yourself. If you've worked through all those other possibilities and you're still hearing squeaking, we might be looking at the drive motor itself. The drive motor is the heart of your dryer. It's what powers both the drum and the blower wheel to make everything work. When the motor bearings start wearing out or need lubrication, you'll get squeaking sounds that can be pretty persistent. Now, I gotta tell you, diagnosing and replacing a drive motor is not a weekend DIY project for most folks. This is one of those repairs where the part itself can cost a couple $100, and if you mess up the installation, you could damage other expensive components. The motor is also connected to a bunch of electrical components that require some serious know-how to work with safely. I remember this guy who called me after he tried to replace his own motor and ended up frying the control board in the process. Turned a $200 repair into a $500 headache. So here's my honest recommendation: if you've eliminated all the other possibilities and you think it's the motor, this is where you call someone like me. A qualified technician can properly diagnose whether it's actually the motor or something else you might have missed, and they've got the tools and experience to do the replacement safely. Sometimes what sounds like a motor problem is actually something simpler that got overlooked. Now let's talk about which GE dryer models you can see on the screen right now that are most prone to these squeaking issues. The GE Adora series electric dryers seem to develop these high-pitched noises more often than others. These are the front-loading models with all the energy-saving features and steam options. Great dryers overall, but they do have a tendency towards squeaky components as they age. Another one that comes up a lot is the GE Unitized Space Maker. That's the stacked washer-dryer combo unit that's designed to save space in smaller homes. The compact design puts more stress on some of the internal components, so you'll often hear squeaking from these units after a few years of regular use. The GE Profile Gas Dryer series is another frequent flyer when it comes to squeaking problems. These are solid machines with great temperature controls and durable drum interiors. But those same drum support components we've been talking about tend to wear out and create noise issues. If you've got one of these models shown here on the screen and you're dealing with squeaking sounds, the troubleshooting steps we just covered should definitely help you narrow down the problem. And that's how you tackle a squeaky GE dryer. Here's your action plan. Start with checking if it's level. That's free and takes 5 minutes. Next, listen to where the noise is coming from. Back of machine means bearings, top means drive belt, bottom front means idler pulley. For multiple squeaks, check the drum rollers. If none of these fix it, call a pro for the motor. Most of the time, one of these fixes is going to solve your squeaking problem and save you a bunch of money on a service call. Remember, start with the simple stuff like checking if your dryer is level, then work your way up to the more complex repairs. Don't be afraid to tackle the easier fixes yourself, but know when to call in a pro for the trickier stuff like motor replacement. If you guys know someone who's having appliance troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your GE dryer running quietly again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.